Hello, everyone. This is our devotional for Monday for our week on shoes. This is called Shoes for Mission, and it's on Mark chapter 6, verses 6b through 13. Then Jesus went about among the villages teaching. He called the 12 and began to send them out 2 by 2, and gave them authority over the unclean spirits. He ordered them to take nothing for their journey except a staff. No bread, no bag, no money in their belts, but to wear sandals and not to put on 2 tunics. He said to them, "Wherever you enter a house, stay there until you leave the place. If any place will not welcome you and they refuse to hear you, as you leave, shake off the dust that is on your feet as a testimony against them." So they went out and proclaimed that all should repent. They cast out many demons and anointed with oil many who were sick and cured them. So in this passage, Jesus is telling his disciples that they're not to take anything with them for the journey into the mission field. No money, no food. And he gets really specific, with the clothing. Take 1 tunic, 1 pair of sandals. He wants them to be unencumbered, ready to move, travel wherever. Don't be weighed down by baggage and by what you think you need, but be open to the hospitality of whoever offers you a meal or a room or a seat at the table, a place in their home, a place to rest. Now think back to trips that you've taken. Have you ever traveled like this anywhere? I mean, I joke frequently that my husband's one of the few people I know that can unpack, like a 40-pound suitcase for a weekend. The man takes more stuff than anyone could ever need. Doesn't even look at 2/3 of what's in the suitcase, but he has to have all this stuff. And over the years, I've managed to get him to pare down. We're only going for 4 days. You don't need 14 outfits. I promise you. And he would pack that way for the children. And it was just unreal. The amount of stuff that he just felt he had to have. I mean, think about when you're going to plan, we would plan camping trips. And I would be the one that would get put in charge of packing and organizing, because otherwise we would have very strange combinations of things that weren't particularly helpful. But for this, the focus is on the shoes. Shoes for the mission. I mean, one of the few things Jesus mentions is sandals. The sandals they're strong, they're comfortable, they're very appropriate for that time and for that terrain. Sandals were easily removed, feet easily washed. The wearer could enter and leave really easily with those shoes. I mean, you can just kind of get them on and off real quick. So if we're seeking to serve somewhere, our shoes should reflect our willingness to go wherever Jesus is sending us. Shoes for mission signal a willing participation in the life and the work of the place where our feet go. I mean, if they were traveling here in Iowa in winter, sandals are not a great plan. But in a desert climate, sure, they're great. But the important thing is dressing for mission, being prepared for where the mission is taking us, being prepared for where we're supposed to go, being prepared for the climate, being prepared for the context, being prepared for whatever could happen. If I'm going to go, let's say I go back to the family farm in Ohio and it's maple syrup season, I'm not wearing sandals. I'm going to wear either work boots or waterproof boots, because very often, if you're out collecting sap, it's February, March, it's damp, it's wet, muddy. It's not a particularly pleasant time to be outdoors. And often things are melting, so everything's wet and muddy. So you want waterproof boots if you're going to go help do that. You don't do that in tennis shoes or or, in some sort of open-toed sandal. Never going to work. If you're going to go, out walking in the fields in the summertime, you want some shoes that have some decent heft to them, that have plenty of support, so that your ankles aren't rolling, you aren't falling over stuff. We need to be dressed for what we're going to do. Shoes for mission have to be ready for anything. They need to be practical and strong and supportive. And isn't that true for all the things we would take with us if we're going to serve? What we have and what we take should be useful, it should be durable, it should be strong. Think about any kind of trip you've been on, group activity. When I think back to camp, or when I went to Triennium as a group leader, or when I went to Northern Ireland, this is a group of adults on a peacemaking mission trip to Northern Ireland. Even we got a list of things to bring and not bring. Grown adults. I expect that with teenagers. You have to tell them to limit the electronics. You have to tell them to, don't wear see-through clothing. You have to tell 15-year-olds this stuff. But grown adults, having to tell them, you're going to Ireland in April. You should bring an umbrella and a raincoat. Really? Telling people you're going to be on a walking tour, so bring good walking shoes. The things that we have to tell people, and that we have to just stop for a minute and stop thinking about fashion and thinking about all the wrong things and think about what's important. If we're there to do a job, then what we bring with us should be beneficial and helpful and not a hindrance. If you have to lug all this extra stuff, then it becomes a hindrance, not a help to what you're trying to do. So, have you ever participated in a mission trip? What were some of the things you packed, and why did you pack them? If you're going on a medical delegation trip, you might pack very different things than if you're going to help dig new water wells. So what were the kinds of things you were doing? So how did you prepare for that? How many pairs of shoes do you own? What do you consider when you choose a pair of shoes to wear? That's a tough one, because I have a lot. I think a lot of us probably do. Most of them are there for comfort, but there's more than a few that really aren't. What do you need to leave behind in order to be ready to follow Jesus daily? That's a big one. And I think it's a big one for a lot of us, because we all tend to have a lot of stuff. And so what are some of the things you need to leave behind? And it might not be physical things. It might be emotional things. But what are some of the things you need to part with, that you need to leave behind to be ready to follow Jesus today and tomorrow and next week and next year? So there's some thoughts on that. And I hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.